Hey folks, Mike Naso here from IPR365.com with the latest on the tropics. And when we look out there, there is a new feature, a new invest that can only be described as potentially dangerous. And you can see it out there. It is Invest 95L spinning there already here in the Southeast Caribbean. It's going to likely continue a track generally towards the west, west-northwest, and quite possibly a curve to the north in the 4 to 5 day time frame, keeping it over water in very favorable wind shear, upper level winds, as well as very, very untouched hot ocean heat content. And so this could be not only our next depression, but a storm, a hurricane, and possibly a very dangerous major hurricane with potential for definitely Caribbean threat, possible United States landfall threat as well. We'll talk about that, but we also have Igor still to deal with. Now, to start with Igor, this will probably be the last time we ever talk about Igor. Of course, it bypassed Bermuda, did cause some definitely high swells and gusty winds. Still a hurricane. Hurricane Igor is still a hurricane at 48.5 north, 52.0 west. Newfoundland getting rocked by 80-mile-per-hour winds with gusts higher than that, up to 90. Moving northeast now at 46. Remember when this thing was moving west-northwest at about 8? Yeah. Definitely now has the northeast component, faster, 950 millibars. Again, Igor is going to come up and around and spin around here. Extra tropical, we're not going to have to deal with Igor anymore. And again, you can see it was a classic long-lived Cape Verde hurricane developed back on September 8th. Developed quickly into a tropical storm, weakened to a depression, came back into a storm, became a hurricane rapidly, almost a Category 5 hurricane, and then slowly but surely moved on up towards the north and then eventually the northeast here, bypassing Bermuda. You can definitely see it was a classic move west and then make that sea hook back out to sea, but it did it a little bit farther east than our Earl had done it and a little bit farther west than Danielle had done it. So our three big Category 4 Cape Verde hurricanes, Danielle, Earl, and Igor, all ended up curving out, but of course Earl came the closest with land impacts in the islands and up the east coast in Newfoundland, but Igor is impacting Newfoundland, so it's not all peaches and cream. Now, we do have Tropical Storm Lisa out there as of 11. It was at 18.1, 31.7. Winds were 45, gusting to 55. It's moving north at 4 at 1,002 millibars. It should eventually bend west, but it's not going to do anything very quickly, and it's going to stay weak. And it really doesn't look like Lisa is going to be a problem for land. You can see the models here. Whether it's the Azores further to the north, off-screen, Bermuda, the islands, nothing really looks like it's going to be in the way of Tropical Storm Lisa. But you do see this little blue line here, and that is the UK Met's run on our Invest 95L. That could be very, very serious. We'll talk about that in just a minute. First, I did want to get to the satellite imagery of Igor and Lisa, and you can see Igor there continues to push out. Right there you can see definitely becoming non-tropical, and Lisa you can see is trying to strengthen, but it is having some wind shear issues definitely from the north. However, it still does have that tropical shape to it. Right on the edge you can still see the Cape Verde Islands. That's probably the closest it's ever going to get to any land. Finally, here's 95L, and you can see obviously the model guidance takes it west-northwest over water and then bends it back north. I've seen model guidance taking this thing as high as 150 miles per hour. So if you live in Nicaragua, Honduras, the Yucatan, Cuba, and yes, even in Florida, all the way over to Mexico, you see a few of the ensembles here put in the Bay of Campeche, others up in Florida and off to the Carolinas, some Jamaica. Everybody needs to watch this, and here's why. Look at this beautiful system developing on satellite. Reminds me a lot of the beginnings of Gustav, Dennis, Charlie, very infamous hurricanes, and you can see it's already got a twist to it. This could jump very quickly to tropical storm strength because they're already having tropical storm gusts. And if it does become a hurricane, or a tropical storm or hurricane, it will be named Matthew. So we'll see if this becomes a very serious Hurricane Matthew down the road. Right now, the odds of that are rather high. I did want to note here off the Baja, we do have this little blob spinning up, and you're thinking, well, what's this? You know, Eastern Pacific's been somewhat quiet since that burst of activity early on this season, and that is Tropical Storm Georgette. 22.5 north, 109.9 west, 40 miles an hour gusting to 50, north-northwest at 9, 1001 millibars. It's going to make landfall here later tonight, and we're not going to have to deal with it, but again, we're going to have to deal with this. And I can't overemphasize watching this invest because the likelihood of development is very high at this point, and if it does end up developing, you can see wind shear is not going to be any problem for it here in the Caribbean Sea, and ocean temperatures are absolutely phenomenal. So right now, that is our main concern, with the possibility of a track over the warm waters, strengthening, and then back north, maybe towards Cuba and Florida, maybe towards Jamaica and the Bahamas, maybe into Central America and the Gulf. Either way, keep an eye on 95L. I'm Mike Naso from IPR. I'll see you next time.